Hello everyone, Kenny here, Crazy Old Man YouTube channel. Today I have a serious video about the Anthony slash Metcalf case. The police report, maybe not all of the police report, but most of the police reports are, I think the reports, you got a report, which is a basic report, and then you usually have supplement reports from other officers and from detectives. And there's one reason behind it. I don't know if they've changed it or not, but like when we had a homicide, we would have the main report. You get a report number, you put all the, the victim, possible suspects, location of the shooting, stabbing, whatever. You put all that into one report, property seized from the victim and whatnot. And if there's an arrest, you put all that information in there. Now, all the supplemental stuff, some of the stuff that detectives don't want people to know yet because they're still investigating, and they're going to use some of this stuff to kind of verify people to see if they know what they're talking about. So they put them on supplement reports. And those reports, at least when I was in the department, they did not have to release those documents. You would only get the main document. Now, I think if you were a member of the journalist, you might be able to get some of it, although the reports could be redacted to some extent. Sorry, I have no teeth. I need $3,000 to just put things in here. Dentures. Anyway, so it's hard for me to say F's and S's. A little tough. Okay, so back to the well, first of all, not only did I have this problem with this, I've been wanting to get this for a long time, a new tattoo. It says "We the People," 1776. And I've been wanting to get that for a long time. And it wasn't until I met a friend of mine who is now become a really good friend. His name's Ray, and he owns a tattoo studio out in Annapolis Road in Brooklyn. Here's his card. Right there. It's one of his newer cards, I believe. He just opened a secondary store right down the street. So I guess they're going to do the Razor's Edge 2, I think is what he was planning on doing. Ray does piercings and tattoos, and they do a phenomenal job over there. They do everything you want done, and they make sure it looks perfect, and you are 100% perfect with it. Okay with it before they start putting ink to skin. They even went and did like 3 or 4 times the size just until we got it perfect. A little too big, a little too small, right in the middle, just right, good to go. 5 hours later, now I'm saying if it's only a couple hours later, it was like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours to completely do everything. And I love it. Love it. Absolutely do. So, Razor's Edge. If you see, there's another company right down the road. Razor's Edge took over it. Don't pay no attention to that store. Just start looking for the new reviews at that new store if you happen to be in Maryland. Either store has both great tattooists. And Ray can do a piercing in about 2 minutes. Boom, boom, you're out. So what I want to get into that. There's people that come from hour and a half away to get tattooed at his salon studio. I'm going to ask him which he wants me to refer to it as. So, but they come from long and far and wait definitely for a while. Now, at his new studio, he's got 3 video games that you can play for free while waiting. One of them is there's a couple of them from my era, 1979 to 1982, 83. And one of them's Miss Pac-Man, great. The other one's Asteroids, great. The third one is kind of like a DC Comics type thing. I think that came out after I was already in the military and didn't play video games much. I did, but it wasn't video games like you want to talk. It was more like Call of Duty type stuff. I told him I need to get a list together of he should knock this wall out, put a couple extra video games in there. And if you grew up in the 70s and 80s, you know about Stargate, you know about Tank, the one when you're in a tank and you're just driving around shooting other tanks. They were basically holographic tanks that you shoot at. It was an awesome game. You know about Dragon Slayer, where you're kind of like a Zelda game. Donkey Kong, Centipede, and Galaga. I would say they're the ones that he needs to put in there, and then start charging 25 cents. You know, maybe you get for maybe when you first put your money down for the tattoo, maybe he can give you 10 tokens to, and then after that you got to put a quarters in. Maybe something like that. I'm going to bring it up to him later today. But anyway, back to the Austin Metcalf issue. So the SRO hears about it. He ends up finding, identifying, and putting in handcuffs. And I'm not sure at that time when he put him in handcuffs if he was under arrest or being detained at the time. However, when Officer Cortez says, I have the alleged suspect, man, it's hard. I keep wanting to say Austin. Anthony says, alleged. I'm not alleged. I did it. Okay. Now, that's the first portion I'm going to sum it up after this other part. His backup unit, I guess the second on scene, was a Officer Ricky, R-I-C-C-I, Ricky. I'm not sure exactly, but he records, and I'm not sure if it was picked up on the body cam or if it was just picked up audibly, but he says that he heard that Ricky said, if something like, let me see, I wrote that down. Could what happened here be considered self-defense? Now, both of those, you would say, hey, you can't use those in a court of law because he wasn't given his rights. It's wrong. And a lot of people are saying, oh, you can't charge him with that. He said that, and you didn't read him his rights. And, you know, everybody on TV, yeah, I know my rights. You need to tell me my rights. I know my rights, blah, blah, blah. And then they go to, instead of saying, I know my rights, then they're like, well, you never read me my rights. Okay. Here's the way it works. If they do not ask you any specific questions to a crime that they suspect you of, then they do not have to read you your rights. And I'll give you an example. They're holding you for suspected stabbing someone, and they go, is it raining out? And you answer the question, yes. Okay. Do you like the rain? No. Okay, great. They can ask you those questions, and it doesn't apply to the case. Now, I'm not going to get into some scenario how the rain could have caused an issue, but what I'm trying to say is, if they ask you a specific, unless they ask you a specific question about the crime that they are accusing you or suspect you of doing, they do not leave. You need to leave or ask or give your rights. They can they stuff you in the back of a car. You got a half-hour drive to the station, and whatever that guy says to that officer or blurts out to himself, maybe he's sitting there talking to him saying, I didn't mean to do it, I shouldn't have did it, blah, blah, blah. I'm so stupid on myself. All that stuff is completely legally able to be used in court. He was not asked any questions, and even if he was given his rights, if he just started saying stuff in the back of the, like, say he said he wanted a lawyer. Okay, great. You want a lawyer? We can't talk to you now. We stuff him in the car. We start transporting him. If he starts saying stuff on the back of that car on his own accord, he does it. He does it on his, he does it on his own free will. Well, that all can be used in court until an officer or a detective says, all right, on this date and time, where were you? Now, if he answers that he was at the track meet, football game, whatever, well, that can't be used because he wasn't read his rights. Because this is leading up to, okay, where were you on this date and time? Well, the next question would be, logically, did you happen to have any issues with anyone? And then it would go down to, did you know this person named Austin and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, anything like that, you have to read the rights. If you're just asking certain questions, what size shoe do you wear? Unless they're looking for a size shoe in the mud print of a break-in of a house, that doesn't apply to this. They can ask you that and without reading your rights. Should you read rights? Yes. I would read rights on something this serious no matter what, so that any small detail that he might come up with or might say that you can now link to the case might not seem significant now, but could be significant later. And if he wasn't read his rights, then that could get thrown out, and it could just be a little thing. The blood on somebody else's cleats if he was wearing cleats. Are those your shoes, or did you switch them to somebody else? Are those your shoes? If he says yeah, before you read the rights, the blood evidence on that shoe is not any good. If he said, read the rights and say, are those your shoes? And he says yes, and then you take those shoes either off the bleachers or from somebody else that he traded shoes with, and they find out that there's blood evidence on there that matches Austin's blood. Well, there you go. And he was read his rights. That really didn't seem like a whole lot at the time, where an officer sees a little speck that looks like blood. Could be blood, could be a nosebleed from that player. It could be anything that's red. Maybe he drank some Gatorade that's red. I don't know. But that goes over the whole thing about, the reading the rights. That covers all that. So anyone who says he wasn't read his rights and blah, 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 you're wrong. They don't need to read the rights unless they're asking specific questions. Now, moving on, let's talk about how the police department did a great job. They separated all their people into separate places. They interviewed each one and to come up with the scenario. And almost to a T, each one of the witnesses said pretty much the same thing. Also, I forgot to say, I want to put Ray's information right here. I'm going to try to do it right here. I might put it in at the beginning where I first mentioned Ray, because he's a good friend of the channel. He doesn't support the channel, but he's a good friend, and he's doing, he's helping me out a little bit, getting me a little bit of tatted up. So anyway, back to my story. We put to bed the rest about not reading the rights. Okay, so now the next thing is, and I will tell you, if it's voluntary, even if, like I said, if you read his Miranda rights, and then he just out of nowhere says, "I did it. You're right, I did it." Well, you read his rights, and even if you didn't read his rights, and he says that's called an excited utterance, and it's allowed in law. It's allowed in court if it pertains to to do something with his guilt or innocence. They can use that. Now, if he says, "I didn't do it, it was somebody else I saw," obviously the attorney that's defending him is probably going to try to use that, but hopefully, they can get rid of that. And the state's attorney would be, "I did it. It's me. I did it. I killed him." They can use that against him as an excited utterance. All right, so let's see what else I got to go with here. So I think I covered it concerning the two boys and their situation that they were in, and the witnesses, and and I'm telling you, they took pictures of everything. They located the knife because they moved. The crime scene was actually moved a little bit to cover up, like the tent was used to cover up the kids, the people involved. It was used to help when they were rendering aid. And when they had the guy, and when they caught the guy, he didn't have a knife on him. So, clue there. If it's a stabbing, there's a knife around here somewhere. And one of the officers, don't think I have it written down here. Nope, I don't. He recovered the knife, which is awesome. And he covers it up. Unfortunately, he used the backpack from Anthony, which might come into play later on in terms of blood transfer, if there was any blood on the knife and or on the backpack, and the backpack leads them to be his, and say, well, the blood could have got on there from the knife. I mean, it's a very trivial thing, because how did his blood get on anything of Metcalf, of Anthony's? So that's just, but anyway, they covered it up to preserve the evidence, and they did a great job from everything I read. I don't want to keep going on and on about it, because there's a lot that's pretty damn boring, just like this is. So I'm going to get in now to, did he have the right to stab Metcalf? No, he didn't. And here's the reason. There's a couple reasons why. If you push me, a push in proportionality is a push back. If you punch me, proportionally a punch back. If you have a guy, first of all, you can't come up and incite a fight. You come up and incite a fight and get your boop handed to you. So on you, brother. You went up, you started it. That's your problem. Can't use self-defense, stand your ground, anything like that, because you didn't. You're the one out came up and started it. So we can get rid of that right out of the bunch. Proportionality again. Now let's say you started it, one person, and then maybe 10 people jumped in and they're stomping you to death, and they're literally stomping you into the ground. Well, then yeah, you can probably get away with it, even though you started it. Now the proportionality has changed. It went from 1-on-1 to 1-on-2, which then would be questionable whether you could use a weapon. 1-on-5, definitely could probably use a weapon. 1-on-10, stomping you to death. I think you can use proportionality and set in the other direction and say, I thought my life was in immediate danger, or I'm going to possibly have life-altering or serious injuries or bodily harm. And that's why I pulled out my G17 or my thing there. Haven't used this in a while. One of these, you pulled out one of those and stopped the threat. Now, can you use that? Yes. Especially in Texas, they have the stand your ground law, castle doctrine, and self-defense laws and all that stuff. However, he did kind of incite it, A, by sitting down in the wrong bleachers. B, when he's asked to leave, he said, do touch me and see what happens. Well, now that's escalating. The guy then touches him, and then Anthony says, punch me in the face and then see what happens. And then at some point, I don't know if Metcalf grabbed him, pushed him more, shoved him away, whatever. That escalated Anthony pulling out the knife and stabbing him one time in the chest and running away. Now, again, proportionality. It was 1-on-1. Even though there might have been 10 of his classmates around him, if they were not involved in the situation other than being witnesses, then he cannot use the proportionality argument, because it was still just one-on-one. So let me see. You can also you can't use speculative breathing a glass ball, or whatever. You can't say, well, I figured he might resort to finding me later on and then attacking me for me pushing back on him, and I thought for sure that he might come back a little later today, maybe armed, and then I know I'd have to use my knife against him because now he's got a gun. You can't use speculative stuff at all. You can only use what's going on right now, and not, well, I know we have a school track meet coming up in 6 weeks and I think he might bring something to harm me, so I decided to bring my knife or utilize my knife now to end the threat. Can't do that. Okay, so I think I covered up pretty much everything I wanted to cover. It took 21 minutes. Hope it didn't kill you. But that kind of hook puts most of it down. You can't use self-defense when you started it. You have to have proportionality to use self-defense. A punch doesn't equal a knife. A punch equals a punch. A knife equals a knife. A gun equals a gun. Okay? So that's a proportionality. Self-defense, you started the situation, and he was, again, proportionality. He wasn't doing anything to cause you great bodily injury or harm. And then, of course, castle doctrine is for your home. It's for your car. It's, hey, I got the right to defend my house and my stuff that's in there, and therefore I don't have to go running out of my house. In Maryland, they would probably put me in jail for standing my ground in my home and shooting someone who's in my home trying to rob me or hurt me. They'd probably put me in jail because they want me to go running out of my house going, stop, I'm being robbed, please help. That's what they want in Maryland. Maryland sucks. Don't ever move to Maryland. Don't ever move to Maryland. If somebody offers you a good deal, good job, good house, don't move to Maryland. It's as bad as D.C., and we know how bad they are. So, anyway, cheapest way to support the channel is to like, share, and click the links, leave a message. If you think I'm wrong about something, leave a message. Think I'm right about something, leave a message. I don't know. Just if you think, if you want to, leave a comment, so that I love talking back and forth with people. Right now, I don't have that much dialogue between people, but I'm getting it, and I'm going to start using this stupid, what's it called? The thing. The teleprompter. I'm going to start using that to bring you back content that's a little bit more streamlined and not going back and forth and driving you crazy. So, okay, that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching. See ya.